All right, we all set if I start?
What was that, Nick?
You okay if I start?
Yes, sir.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the May meeting of the City of Binghamton Planning Commission. My name is Nick Corcoran. I'm currently the chairman of this commission, which is comprised of local community members tasked with reviewing site plans and special use permits for consistency with the standards and criteria set forth in the City of Binghamton Code. Based on our total number of planning commission members, 4 members must be present to constitute a quorum. Tonight, it looks like we have more than 4 members, which means we will have a quorum and can proceed. But the first item to verify that is roll call. Mario DeFulvio.
Here.
Paul O'Brien.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Joe DeAndre.
Here.
Chris Judges.
Here I am, rock you like a hurricane.
Kelly Weiss.
I am present. Chris, you are consistent.
What am I doing?
Manny Priest.
Yes, I'm here.
All right, and I'm here. So that's 7, which means we do have a quorum and can proceed. Next item on the agenda are approval of minutes, although I don't think we got any minutes to approve. Is that right, Tito?
That's correct. Our minute taker, Obed, is gone again, this time for good. So
Oh, no. Well, good for him, maybe.
yes, no, yeah, he's alive and he's working for the Orange County Planning Department.
Oh, good for him. All right, well, we look forward to a meeting in the future where we approve 30 months worth of meetings all at once. All right, so next item on the agenda are SEQR determinations. All right, in this portion of our meeting, the Planning Commission will be reviewing documentation provided by applicants for the first time. The applicants will be called to the microphone where they will be asked to make a presentation describing their plans to the commission. Commission members may then ask questions of the applicant to clarify any items that are unclear. And after all questions have been answered, the commission will deliberate and then either set a public hearing date for the project or request additional information before proceeding. To all our applicants that will be presenting tonight, we ask that you please state your name and address for our records before beginning your presentation. And we ask that any member of your team who will be speaking, please give their name and address for our records. Just as a housekeeping item, this meeting tonight is being conducted in accordance with Chapter 1 of the laws of the 2022, which in part authorizes this public body, quote, to meet and take such action authorized by law without permitting in-person access to meetings, and authorize such meetings to be held remotely by conference call or similar service, provided that the public has the ability to view or listen to such proceeding and that such meetings are recorded and later transcribed. This act shall expire and be deemed repealed upon the expiration or termination of the state of disaster declared pursuant to the Executive Order 11 of 2021 and any extension or modification thereafter. All right, so to listen to the meeting audio via phone, people can call in at 929-205-6099. And then we'll talk about speaking for public comment a little bit later in the next portion of our meeting. All right, so for tonight, our first SEQR determination is for the applicant S2 Properties LLC. Project address is 246 Washington Street. And this is a site plan review for the conversion of an existing building into an indoor recreation facility, a barcade in the C2 downtown business district. All right, is there anyone on the Zoom call for the 246 Washington Street project?
Nick, I see that he just came in, so I'm not sure if he caught that.
Okay.
Daniel, can you hear us?
Hi, good evening. Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Perfect. How are you tonight?
Great, how are you?
Great.
All right. All right, so you're thinking about making a barcade?
That's correct. Yep.
All right.
It's been kind of in the works for years actually, and now that hopefully, knock on wood, we're kind of getting out of the last couple years, and we might be in a good position to try it again.
All right. Well, why don't you describe your project to us if you would?
Sure. So the project basically will be taking the 246 Washington Street, the old Bob Crow Automotive, and converting it into, well, we can call it a barcade. My focus isn't so much on being more drink eccentric as much as entertainment eccentric. So our hours will reflect that and whatnot. But yeah, so really the goal is to create a space there that would allow us to have a full arcade. And hopefully utilize that kind of neat property, how it connects from State to Washington Street. And there was kind of a render there early, on the top, I know, that kind of shows us lighting and creating a pathway to connect the two, which I also think will be kind of a neat, kind of hopefully coinciding with the arts district. And selfishly connecting State Street to Washington Street for the garage taco bar as well there. But no, I think it's kind of a neat property to kind of give that hole in the wall retro arcade that feel. So.
All right. Fantastic. One question: is there any chance anybody left over from Bob Crow is still going to be fixing cars in the building? Because
not that I'm aware of, although he's a great mechanic for sure. So I still am in touch with Bob.
I'm still looking for a replacement after he closed. So.
Oh man. Yeah, no, that's yeah, I mean, he's still doing his businesses around town, but yeah, not the mechanic, unfortunately. He was a great mechanic.
All right. All right. Anybody have any questions or comments about what they want to do here?
Yeah, Nick, this is Chris.
Yeah.
Hi, Dan. If I'm not sure, let me ask. I'm not sure who's controlling the screen. Is that you, Tito?
Yes.
Can we go back to, I guess, the artistic drawing from this, like the street view? And that's, yeah, there you go. Thank you. So Dan, I see in this drawing, it appears to be like a food truck on the left-hand side. Is the goal to have a kitchen on site, to have a food truck? I'm not sure what those city rules are about food trucks. So are those
Sure.
other things that we got to be prepared to dissect and discuss?
Sure. So it will have hopefully just a small induction kitchen, meaning pretty much a very small, I'm not looking to have a full menu. It will be very like small hands-on type foods that would, we will be operating with a lot of arcade games and whatnot. So I'm not, it will be kind of like hand-picked foods, So one thought was, and maybe a plug there for the garage, a food truck we have for the garage in the works. The ability to maybe have vendors pull right up onto the property. And this is, once again, I think you said it best, an artistic render, but hopefully a fairly accurate, goal. But yeah, so the goal would be to potentially be able to have vendors set up there, since we won't be having a full kitchen.
Okay, thank you.
Chris.
Just a question to Tito in
Yes.
planning. What are rules for either for Dan, to educate us in the planning commission if this ever comes up in the future? What are food truck rules in the city?
So if it's on private property, we just treat it in terms of zoning, we treat it as a eating and drinking establishment, same as a brick and mortar restaurant.
Okay.
It's the same land use in our zoning code. If it's on public property, that's outside of the zoning code, and that's the clerk's office, and there's a whole different set of rules there. But if it's contained on the property, it would just be treated as if it were the kitchen for the eating and drinking establishment.
Okay.
Nick, this is Brian. I would add that it's totally proper for the planning commission, though, to consider the impact that has on the site plan and on the ingress and egress and the aesthetics and all that as part of your site plan approval. That's why they were wise to include it on your drawing so that you knew what you're considering when you considered it.
Right, and that obviously this would be our hopes, and that's why we kind of put it in there. But yeah, I mean, obviously, if it doesn't coincide, you know, with the city, we're obviously wanting to make everyone happy here. So, but yeah, that would hopefully be the goal, to allow that, not just for, you know, the garage, but if there's other smaller vendors, you know, that would be able to set up on a weekend. You know, the goal isn't to have a permanently parked, I should add that, you know, the goal isn't to have something permanently parked there, just the ability to, you know, have that.
All right. Anybody have any other questions or concerns about what they're planning?
Hi, this is Emmanuel Priest. Hi, Dan. How are you?
Good. How about yourself?
Good, good. Just a quick question on the aesthetics. I saw in the drawings you're thinking a chain link fence for the courtyard area, and I was just wondering if you considered any other style of fences. I love the partitions at the garage, and maybe your needs are different at this site, but I was just wondering if you considered any other, or if that is even just a placeholder.
Sure. So it's something we could definitely consider. I actually went with the chain link on this, like a color, not just a galvanized, but like a plastic coated black. Personally, just because maybe aesthetically for like what we're trying to keep that garage feel, I kind of felt it, you know, in a more casual thing. I kind of like the aesthetic, and also the ability to have a large roll gate, which if you look closely, it would kind of give us that ability to open and close that area. If you can kind of see how there is that roll gate there, but yeah, it would just be the easiest way to get that kind of opening as well.
Gotcha.
All right. For garbage pickup, are you anticipating it coming off of the State Street side?
So obviously we are flexible. If on the drawings there is a small area that shows we'll be using totes, so it would be very easy to go either or. From our garbage storage, there won't be a full dumpster. So honestly, it would come down to whatever the city's preference is. It would be, you know, equally as easy for us to take it either side there. So,
Okay.
And more than likely, you know, for the actual garbage, we'll use either Taylor or Burt.
Okay. The garbage is all housed somewhere hidden until it goes out to the street?
Correct. Yep. And it should be on on those drawings there. There is, like, on the site plan, I believe, kind of a marked out area for that.
Yeah. The city had a couple of comments from the staff. They asked, is there any consideration for the opportunity to provide any planters or other forms of low maintenance vegetation on site?
Oh, absolutely. Sure. Yeah. I'm sure as we kind of go, you know, and get further into, you know, some of these drawings are, you know, initially for this. So as we work with the architect further, I know we want to add some more greenery to the patio space, and also kind of explore potentially temporary planters, not full on, but in those alleyway. You know, so that way we could have some nice greenery, and then, you know, obviously when the weather changes here, be able to, you know, move that around for snow removal.
Okay. All right, and the planning staff also asked if there was any consideration for adding bike parking on site.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, that would be a very, very easy yes for us. Yeah, that would be, we actually used to have that at the garage as well until we put the new patio, but that's, yeah, we would definitely consider that.
All right. Well, any other questions or concerns?
No concerns. I just think it's a great project, and it's going to make the space look beautiful compared to, you know, not that the garage wasn't pretty before, but I think this is gonna be really nice, especially for the forum next door.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, well, if there's no other questions or comments, I'll make a motion that the proposal involves reuse of an existing building, which is a type 2 action under SEQR, and that no further environmental review is required. And based on that, since no other environmental review is required, I will make a motion to set a public hearing for the project at our June meeting for 5/25.
Seconded.
All right, seconded by Manny. All in favor, Mario? All right, maybe I'll circle back. Paul,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Manny,
Yes.
Mario. All right, I think we lost Mario, but
No,
I'm listening.
Can you hear me? I'm here.
There he is.
I got booted out for the 40-minute limit. It happened to anybody else?
That did happen to me. I don't know. I guess nobody noticed, but
I had to jump out and get back in. I'm sorry
Yeah.
about that. I'm in favor. All set.
Okay, good. All right, I'm also in favor, so that's 7 in favor, 0 opposed. All right, so we'll see you back for a public hearing at the June meeting.
Sounds good. Thank you, everyone, for your time this evening. I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
just want to check in because can everybody see the shared screen and everything? Is nothing strange going on?
Clear as a bell.
Okay.
Looks good.
That's good.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. All right, so our next SEQR determination tonight is for the applicant Berthany Permission. Project address is 350 Main Street. This is a site plan review and special use permit to establish a convenience store in an existing commercial space in the C1 Service Commercial District. All right, is there anyone on for the 350 Main Street project?
This is Jeffrey Smith with Chanis and Anderson Architects. I believe Bertoni is also on the line.
What are you guys planning to do?
It was a dry cleaning establishment. And if you've driven down Main Street and seen the big Pacemaker Steel sign right in front, there's a low one-story building that Mr. Permission is redeveloping into a convenience store, and that is for the zoning definition of the space. But it's more like a specialty foods store with a Caribbean flair. If you're interested in something different, you should stop by. The building, part of the building is also being redeveloped into a eating establishment. So what we're coming to front of you today for is a special use permit for the convenience store because the food establishment is allowed under zoning. We have a meeting Wednesday with building construction and code enforcement to walk through the structure and begin to develop plans that allows them to permit such use in the building. It's a one-story building with a full basement. It's less than 4,000 square feet total. It's pretty small. And we're just looking to get Mr. Permission in there working and approved.
All right. All right, anybody have any questions or comments about what they want to do?
Go ahead, ask about the garbage. I noticed, this is Jeff, I'm going to jump back in here, assuming that question will be coming. You do not see anything noted on our site plan for that. The adjacent property, which would be west, immediately west, is also Pacemaker Steel. They are allowing Mr. permission to use that site, and that is where there is an enclosed garbage container located.
Nick, if I could, if that is going to be the location of the dumpster or the trash enclosure, it should be added to the site plan, just so that it could be noted that that's the official sort of garbage storage location.
Nick, this is Chris.
Yes.
And this question is probably first directed either to Brian or to Tito. I don't know if I've ever, as long as I've been on I've only been on the planning commission for a couple of years now. I don't know if I remember seeing this issue where a neighboring property owner is going to allow them to locate the dumpster or the trash receptacle. Do we need to have something in writing from, not that I don't believe Jeff, but do we need to have something in writing as part of the file saying that the pacemaker property owners allowing them to keep the dumpster on that corner site?
Yeah, so Pacemaker owns both lots, and so
Okay.
they've already signed off on the application, so we would just need to note it on the site plan.
Okay.
I guess it wouldn't hurt to amend the application to include the address next door and then update and get an updated signature from the property owner, since that wasn't officially part of the application when it was first submitted.
You know, I would agree. I think that it's cleaner that if it's there, that it's in the record, and that's why you consider it and as part of the site plan. Because potentially it becomes a condition of approval that it be over there. And so Pacemaker needs to know that that's what they're allowing and that's what they're doing.
Right, and then as part of having multiple lots in one site, we have had that before. A lot of times it's with parking, where parking will be on an adjacent lot or in a lot across the street, but that's not uncommon, and we just need the property owner of all parcels included in the site to sign the application.
Okay.
All right,
And
Jeff,
you'll notice-
I have a super tough question for you. So in general, parking spaces that require everybody to back out over the sidewalk, 5 in a row, they're pretty poor. I understand this is an existing condition and there's really no other way to provide parking on site. But was there any consideration of that western piece of property where the dumpsters are as a mini parking lot and removing the parking spaces from in front of the building so that people don't have to, so that all 5 parking spaces don't require backing out onto the street over the sidewalk?
This is Jeff. So the adjacent property is also used by Bertoni and clients. But I did not have that information or to talk about. Bertoni, if you're on the call, can you want to maybe weigh in on that? That might be something that if we could get Pacemaker to agree to that, and they might already, we can add that or amend the site plan with that as well. Right now, we're just dealing with the site where the building is on only, and you're right, Nick, it is a challenge parking area.
Yeah. I guess I just want to make sure that we've talked about it in case it ever comes up again on another project where parking would be able to be constructed in a better manner, a safer manner. We can just say we always talk about it. And for this particular project, it looks like there really is no other spot, unless if somebody would be open to using that western side and making the parking there so that you only had one in out drive access. That certainly would be a safer site plan than all 5 spaces backing out onto Main Street over the main sidewalk. I guess all I could ask is you consider it between now and the next meeting.
And so the entire site, both sites that we're talking about are 100% covered impervious building and paving. So right now we're just kind of showing striping so we can designate the spots. So the adjacent site, if Pacemaker is allowing Bertoni, Mr. Permission to use that for parking, we'll show the best we can with that tight site, the yellow stripes.
That would be great if that works. I don't know if anybody else wants to weigh in on whether or not they agree with that or whether they're fine with them.
Mr. Chairman, there actually is sort of a parking lot in that space already. I mean, it's already paved. That's where there's a couple of wheel stops over there, and there is a dumpster back in there on that site. Tito, can I ask a question? Was this referred to JC? Is it close enough that it needs to be referred to them for 239 L&M, or because of the being close to the municipal line?
It does, yeah, and they have until the next meeting to respond.
Okay, very good.
Another thing I'd like to add, Nick, if I could, is that there is no parking requirement for this proposal. And so, and I'm not suggesting that this is something that you would want to do, but you do have the option to not allow the use of those spaces since they don't technically need to meet any parking requirement. So that you do have the authority to do that, to not allow the use of those spaces that back out onto the street.
Okay. So Jeff, clearly, if somebody's planning on constructing or renovating to make a restaurant and a convenience store, ideally they would like parking spaces right in front of the building, or right adjacent to the building.
Yes, yep, and it would be good. In my opinion, it would be good to have something designated. Clearly, people do pull in and pull out pretty quickly, and as the image on the screen shows, I mean, that makes a lot more sense to use the adjacent lot because it's larger. I just cannot speak for Pacemaker at this point.
Okay.
But parking is not required.
Okay. And it certainly, if all of the parking spaces were removed from in front of the building, it certainly would make that corner and the curb appeal of that building a lot nicer if it wasn't paved right up to the front of the building from sidewalk to front. But again, just something to consider between now and next meeting.
Yes, certainly. And I think Mr. Permission would agree with that. At this point, he's just trying to get up and running legally and get all the approvals. And we can certainly help him out with redesigning that site as he gets really busy. What we do show on the site plan is we do show a designated space for bicycle parking in some sort of landscaped area in that southeast corner of the site. There's a large power pole and a large freestanding sign, so it's not accessible for parking without really getting in there kind of wonky. So we already did attempt to do something more attractive in front of part of the building.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have any questions, concerns, comments?
Was that question for us, Nick?
Well, actually, I guess I have one follow-up question then. Is the convenience store, is the plan that they would have cigarettes in there at all? Or?
My understanding is yes, that tobacco sales are part of the proposal.
And this is Jeff. When I walked in, I never even paid attention. I just looked at the freezer with all the unique foods, and I cannot comment.
Okay. Are we close enough to St. James that would kick into that weird distance away from a school selling tobacco or alcohol?
I do not think so. I can double check. I would note that that's in a different municipality. So I don't know if that would apply. Maybe Brian can weigh in.
That's a Broome County rule, right? Or is that a city rule?
That's in the city zoning ordinance.
Oh, okay.
It's in the city zoning ordinance, and I forget what the site distance is, but I know driving by car, it seems close, but I mean, you're going under the arch, up over the bridge, down into JC, through that intersection at Leicester. It's pretty far away.
Okay. It probably doesn't apply. I just wanted to make sure we didn't approve something and then have it be a problem after.
No,
approval.
that's a good question. He's measuring.
It's outside of the 500 feet. You can see the radius here. That's 500 feet.
Perfect.
And St. James is here.
Okay, great. Anything else from anybody? No questions or comments? I'll make a motion that the applicant's proposal involves the establishment of a non-residential facility under 4,000 square feet, which is a SEQR type 2 action, and no further environmental review is required. And that we should schedule a public hearing for the project at our June meeting at 5:30.
I'll second that. This is
All right.
Chris.
Seconded by Chris. All in favor? Mario?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Manny?
Yes.
And I'm also a yes. So that's 7 in favor, 0 opposed. All right, so we'll see you in June for a public hearing.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you. All right. Our next SEQR determination is for the applicant Amicus New York LLC. Project address is 15 Seminary Ave. This is a site plan review and special use permit to construct a new 2-story dwelling with 2 5-bedroom units in the R2, 1, and 2 unit dwelling district. All right, anybody on for 15 Seminary Ave?
This is Jeffrey Smith. I'm going to keep talking.
Excellent.
So you may have heard Amicus Properties has has acquired a number of properties in the west side of Binghamton here. And so some of those have come before you in the past. But they also acquired this lot where they would like us to plan to build a brand new structure. So west side, brand new. It's been a long time since we've done a new residential property here in the city. And so what we're proposing, because it is not going to be a 2-family, it'll be congregant living, so 5 individuals unrelated to each other. We are proposing a 2-story, quote unquote, 2-family in the district, which is allowed by zoning. What you see on the screen right now is a design study in the front elevation. We do want this to blend into the streetscape that is there. So you're seeing a front porch, street facing gable, some sort of maybe bracketing for the gable, some sort of interesting siding, so that it blends in and does not stand out. We are working with the applicant now to not put in a full basement. There's really no reason, and with the crazy weather and storms, if we can locate the utilities up out of that space, just saves additional site disturbance and costs. We're providing off-street parking in the rear, and we're really looking forward to doing something brand new, especially in this neighborhood. You do hear a lot of people talk about the challenges with student housing and that, and what our experience with Amicus is that they're looking to mitigate those challenges and be good neighbors. So on the site plan, you'll see we do have a designated trash storage in the rear, fenced in. We are keeping a little bit of landscape space in the rear to fill in, so it's not completely covered with parking. Based on the zoning and lot coverage, of course, we're trying to maximize the size of the building so we can get 5 adequate sized bedrooms in each level. And working towards the lot coverage, we are providing pervious paving for the drive and the parking area. The site would be really, really difficult to develop if we were going with impervious surface for the parking and the drive. I don't recall the history of the building that was there before. In the rear, there is an existing garage that will be removed. And of course, the partial parts of concrete drive that lead up to that garage. We're also showing some locations for some sort of building mounted site lighting. One tenant will have access, the upper floor tenant will have access to their space from the front of the building, the front porch. The lower floor tenant will have the same, they'll be adjacent to each other, the doors. But the first floor tenant will also have a side/rear entrance as well. Trying to make it more user friendly. What we're finding is that we have to show a certain amount of parking on site, and there will be the students that have a car and leave it until they go home on break, and then there are other students who are taking the mass transit. If anybody's seen the blue buses in the neighborhood, it's busy. So we want to make sure there's a front door for everybody, as well as a convenient rear access to the best we can. So you're seeing the design study on the screen right now. Trying to carbon copy each footprint that helps with costs, and locating mechanical systems inside the envelope of the building. What you are seeing, the floor plan now, again, is a study. And in the front street side is actually living space, and all of the sleeping space is pushed to the rear. But this footprint, what we did was we kind of maximized the size of the building, and we're gonna address its aesthetics better as we move forward, as well as look to shrink the footprint. Right now, the bedrooms are sized nice with closets and storage, but the living spaces in the front might be too large for 5 students living together.
Nick, if I could just point something out. So planning staff's understanding was that this was a 2-unit dwelling with 5 bedrooms per unit. A 2-unit dwelling with 5 bedrooms per unit would require 6 parking spaces, which are shown. We were not aware that it was congregate living. Congregate living has a different parking requirement. So they would meet all requirements for either use except parking, because the parking requirement for congregate living is 1 space per bed. So that they would need 10 spaces. Whereas if it was a 2-unit dwelling, they would need only 6. The main difference being that congregate living allows unrelated individuals to live together.
And so Tito, just Jeff, I'm gonna jump in. When we talked about 105, Seminary, we were going through with the parking and dealing with that as congregate living as well.
Right.
In this zoning, a 2-dwelling unit, 4 or 5 bedrooms is allowed with a special use permit. So maybe I misunderstood 2-unit versus 2-family versus congregate.
Yeah, so at 105 Murray, you guys went for congregate living. Congregate living is allowed here as well. The difference is that there's a different parking requirement. 2-unit dwelling with 5 bedrooms actually has different requirements for floor area and things like that as well. And again, you meet that, but you don't meet the parking requirement for congregate living. That has a more stringent parking requirement.
Okay, my apologies. It was my misinterpretation of the zoning. 4 or 5 bedroom. That's kind of just what we were looking at. But all right,
we may have missed something as well. But I just wanted to point that out so that it can be addressed before the next meeting.
Tito, this is Kyle. Could I
yes.
ask a quick question?
Sure.
I'm here on the line too, but I was just going to ask a quick question because I know we met on a Tuesday session for this,
Yep.
and I was under the impression that in this particular zoning district there was no option for congregate living. So we put this application in as the 1 and 2 dwelling unit, but the special use permit is for the fact that each unit would have 5 bedrooms. So that's why we showed 6 parking. I don't think we were trying for congregate living because I think it was our impression that that wasn't allowed.
Okay, I was taking a look at the staff report and it looks like it said that this is an R3, but if this is an R2, then you're correct. And congregate living is not permitted. Let me just double check that quickly. It is R2. That's our mistake from the staff report. So again, congregate living is not permitted. So the 6 parking spaces would be enough for a 2-unit dwelling. And again, you meet all the other requirements for a 2-unit dwelling. Just want to note on the record that unrelated individuals, more than 300 unrelated individuals are technically not allowed to occupy a unit in this zoning district.
So it would have to be a 2-family is what we're saying.
Right, we would have to consider basically a 2-family house. And again, as shown, you would meet the requirements for that. I just wanted to be clear that congregate living is not allowed here.
Okay, so we would.
Sorry, guys, I accidentally hung up, but I'm back. Sorry.
Can you just restate that, Tito, please, for Kyle?
Yeah, so you are in the R2. We just confirmed that, and you do meet the plans you presented are fine for a 2-unit dwelling. You meet the parking requirements. You meet the additional regulations for 5-unit dwellings, 5-bedroom dwelling units. I just wanted to be clear on the record about the congregate living use that's not allowed here.
Oh, okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Sure.
Tito, you should clarify again about the functional family thing.
Yeah, so in this zoning district, dwelling units have to be occupied by a family or the equivalent, the functional equivalent to a family. And the zoning code elaborates on what that means. They don't have to be blood relatives or relatives by marriage, but they do have to function like a family. If this were the R3 and congregate living were allowed, congregate living provides for unrelated people to live in one apartment. But again, this is the R2, and so this is a 2-unit dwelling. Dwelling units in residential districts have to be occupied by the equivalent of a family.
And is there, I don't want to take up any more precious time here for everybody else, but is there a variance process for that, or it's just not allowed at all?
You could seek a use variance to allow congregate living at this location. You would have to meet the tests of a use variance. And we can go over what those are.
Yeah, we can follow up offline, Tito.
Sure.
Nick, this is Chris.
Yeah.
I want to provide one piece of potential feedback for both Jeff and for Kyle. If you guys decide you do want to pursue this process to change this into a congregate living, legally allowed business, following the procedure that you're going to talk to Tito about offline. I just want to alert you both, so you're not caught off guard,
Yes.
that some of us, and I will proudly raise my hand as one of those,
Yep.
are real sticklers for the parking. So if you're going to change this to congregate living, I don't want to see you showing back up here with 6. I want to see 10 spots. And there might be others on the planning commission board that feel similarly.
Thank you. And I'm well aware of why congregate living was described in the challenges with the west side. I just want to better advise my client on what options they might have.
Okay, that's fair. That's why I wanted to let you know about how some of us might look at parking if you come back before us in a few months with a changed site plan.
Yes.
Excellent point, Chris. We went through a pretty lengthy process of changing the code to kind of address some of those issues. So at this point, do you want us to table the project so you guys can rethink this, or?
Based on the fact that it is my understanding that this would be congregate living, I guess you got to do what you need to do. I think I need to advise my client, and I can't do that at the moment. He's not on the phone or available. I would like to get that this week. So as a 2-family, I think we're okay, but yeah, I don't know. I would say rather than deny it, if we could just table it, that would probably be the best.
I mean, the other option is that we could move forward with it as a 2-family, and then if you don't want to pursue that, you could just drop out of the process. At least it would keep you on the docket for next month.
Nick, I was just going to advise, this is Brian Seekers, the corporate counsel. You can always schedule it for public hearings, and if they, at their option, want to pull back after next week, that's their option to do that. It would have to be rescheduled, but if they want to ask for it to be tabled at some point after this, that's always their option. But you could move it forward as a 2-family tonight.
Yeah, Jeff, does that sound like something you want to do? And
Yes, yeah, I think let's just keep it moving. And I think my client has a different focus with tenants and the need in the area, but I can't speak for him at the moment.
okay. All right, well, let's do this. Anybody?
I want to make that suggestion so the court keeps its options open.
Yeah.
And gives them some time to consult with together and sort of makes a decision.
Okay. All right, well, does anybody have any other questions or comments before we move on? The staff comments, they did ask or recommend that a privacy fence be constructed around the rear of the yard at a minimum. I think it's because the parking is shown going right up to the property lines. I don't think it would be a bad idea to show some sort of fencing to kind of hide the parking in the back.
Okay.
I'm not sure how everyone else feels about that. And then, yeah, the other comments were for the floor plan. Could you show some dimensions on the floor plan? Trash storage area have an enclosure to better contain the refuse, which I think you guys show that on there. Lighting be added to the front porch. Sconces flanking the doors or hanging fixtures on the porch ceiling. Which I think you showed some lighting on the front porch there, so I think that's covered. Oh, Jeff, I think you're muted.
Yes, sorry. Yes, we do show wall-mounted lighting on the front porch, flanking the doors, kind of a tripartite light, 3 lights equally spaced, but we could certainly put them in the ceiling of the porch.
Okay.
We don't have a preference for location. We just missed them on the drawing.
Okay,
Got it.
all right, well, I'm just looking for what this would be considered. Is this a type 1 action?
Did I miss something, Nick? We just got a phone call.
Sorry, is this considered a type 1 action?
This would be a type 2 action.
Type 2 action, but it does require seeker review?
No, it's a type 2 action for the construction of a 2-unit dwelling. That's a type 2, so no further environmental review is required.
Okay. All right. All right, then I'll make a motion. This is a type 2 action. No further environmental review is required. And that we'll schedule a public hearing for the project at our June meeting for 5:35.
I'll second the motion.
Second by Kelly. All in favor? Mario?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Manny?
Yes.
And I'm also a yes, so that's 7 in favor, 0 opposed. All right, so we'll see you back in June unless something changes and you want to revise your application.
Thank you very much, everybody.
All right, thank you. All right, so that concludes SEQR determinations. And now we're on to public hearings and final deliberations. All right, in this portion of our meeting, we will be holding open public hearings to obtain public opinion in regard to specific projects that are up for review. Applicants will be asked to come to the microphone and make a brief presentation describing their project. For most projects, this is the second time we're reviewing your information, so it would be very helpful if you could please give us a brief overview of your project to remind us what you're planning, and then clearly identify any changes that have been made since the last time we saw you. When the applicant is done presenting and any clarifications have been reviewed, we'll open the public hearing and allow members of the community to speak about the applicant's proposal. After the commission has heard from all community members interested in speaking tonight, the public hearing will be closed and the commission will deliberate. To our applicants, when your project name is called, please come to the microphone and start off by giving your name and address of any members of the applicant's team that is planning to speak. And to anyone from the community that will be speaking in regards to a project tonight, please also start off by stating your name and address for our records. Tonight, if you'd like to call in to comment, the phone number is 607-772-7028. And calls will be taken in the order that they come in. Unfortunately, calls can't be queued. So if you do get a busy signal, please just wait a second and try again, and we'll get you on as soon as possible. So the number again is 607-772-7028. All right, so tonight our one and only public hearing is for the applicant Charles Ackerman. Project address is 209 to 211 State Street. And this is a site plan review and special use permit for a mixed use building with ground floor commercial space, 11 dwelling units, and 10 studio galleries, studio/galleries in the C2 downtown business district. All right, is there anyone on for 209, 211 State Street?
Yes, this is Elise Johnson-Schmidt from Johnson-Schmidt Architect in Corning, but I believe that Charlie would like to open it up. But I think he's listed under attendees. So he has to be, I believe he has to have some special way of being heard. Do you see him listed on the attendees?
He is, I believe he's in under Charles Devine.
No, that's Chuck.
Yeah, this is Charles Devine. He was on under mine, and then I saw him change his name, but now I'm not seeing him on here now.
Okay.
Yeah, he just called me and he said to please make sure that you can allow him to speak because he's not listed as, in the meeting, he's listed as one of the, I don't know, there's two different.
Oh, he's, okay, let me check the attendees, one moment.
He's an attendee, yes.
Charlie, you should be able to speak now.
Yep, here I am. Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, thank you very much. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Okay. So what we're putting forward today is a 11 unit project with 8 2-bedrooms and 3 3-bedrooms at 209 State Street. We are also having a just under 800 square foot storefront that is going to be on the property. All we are going for the historic preservation tax credits, so everything will be done with historic sympathies in mind. And we very much look forward to this project. We do have 2 versions. I believe that you're looking at version 1 because we do have an easement question going right now. So we have one version that involves an easement, which is, I believe, the one that you have up on the screen right this second, and a second version that does not include the easement. That is the version that does not include the easement.
Would you like me to take it from here, Charlie, or?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Okay, so yes, we have 2 versions, and could you adjust the screen just a tiny bit so you can see the back of the building? Great, thank you very much. So the 11 units in this case, in option B, actually is 3 units that are 3-bedroom. There are let's see, 1, 2, 4, 6, 5 units that are 2-bedroom and 1 unit that is
Now, if I
6
could
and
correct
5.
you, there's 7 2-bedrooms, 1 1-bedroom, and 3 3-bedrooms.
Thank you. Sorry, I was trying to add it up. So the only difference being in this option, we have the top left apartment has only 1 bedroom, but the others have 2 and 3 bedrooms. Most of them have 2 bedrooms. So the way we have planned this out is the 11 units with 10 studios in the lower level that's intended to be space for artists in the community to rent out. They're smallish units, and they're intended to be affordable for people to, I mean, affordable in the general sense of the word, affordable for people to be able to rent. And included there is a bathroom and a kitchenette. And you can see that there are 2 exits out of the building. If we go to the first floor, I'll explain how all of that works. Would you like to know the layout? Is that part of what you would like me to explain?
Well, if you don't mind, I think we went through this pretty thoroughly last meeting. So I think the big thing is just if anything has changed since last meeting to this meeting.
Okay, so the only thing that has changed is that that we had the second option in case the easement process doesn't work, which allows an exit from the back of the building. And there's an exit obviously from the front of the building, and then the retail space has its own space and its own entrance. And then you can see that there's a second stairway. If you show that first floor right there in the middle to the left. And then if you go up to the second floor, you can see how it winds up through the building. So that's really the only change. It was to explain how that process worked, or how that floor plan was modified to allow for that second option. What I would like to say also is for the benefit of anybody who's tuning in to this presentation, if we go to the facade, our proposed facade. There we go. So the windows will be restored because it is a historic preservation tax credit project. It has to meet the highest threshold of requirements by the State Historic Preservation Office and the National Park Service. So those windows will all be reconstructed or restored depending on which floor it is. Most of them are missing, so we're making new ones to match what was there originally. You can see that the second floor, we're maintaining that beautiful set of 5 windows across the front. And on the storefront, you can see that we're maintaining, we're going back to the original transom layout with the transoms above every window and door. And there's currently a garage door that was in place historically for a long time. So we're maintaining that, but it's going to be a glass garage door so that you can see into the retail space, depending on what it is. You know, if it's a small eating place or if it's a retail, whatever it is, there will be the option to open it up and get open air in the summertime, you know, into the space. So we feel that it's a good restoration, rehabilitation of the building, adaptive reuse, and we're really pleased to have the opportunity to present this to you. And I'm excited for what it will do for your arts neighborhood there in Binghamton, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, anybody have any questions, comments before we open the public hearing?
Charlie, can you just explain again what the easement issue is and why there's the 2 options?
There is a almost 100-year easement at the building next door that is in litigation right now to decide if it is still associated. Easements are very difficult things to deal with, difficult things to remove, difficult things to add. And it could take anywhere from 2 months to 3 years to figure out. So with that in mind, I want to be able to have 2 options to go forward, both of which will meet planning commission's desires for the community.
So, and I want, if I could add, you can see the second floor plan that's up. It illustrates the different exiting strategies. So you see across from side to side is a kind of a pink colored corridor. And on the right side, it leads to the stairway going out that will lead out the front. And on the left side, it leads into the corridor that was an original stairway that served both this building and the building to the left. And it's really just a corridor and stair. So currently it's serving the building next door, but it also was built and designed to include this building. And so we had designed it to utilize that. So that can take you either out the front or the back, depending on, you know, where you'd like to go. Does that
The
make
only
sense?
reason I ask is if we just had a similar situation, and I don't know if you were on, where there was a portion of the site plan that was under consideration that required location of some of the facilities on a neighboring property, and that required permission of that property owner to be, or consent to that site plan. So I think my advice would be that the planning commission should review option 2 so that they don't have to go through that.
Well, so with that said, I mean, I'm probably leaning that we do review plan 2, but with that said, the easement is in place. An easement would not require any sort, not an attorney, but an easement wouldn't require any sort of permissions or otherwise. The easement is in the deed. So it's not like a special request or a favor or anything.
Okay. No, I understand that. I'm not trying to dig into this too much, but did you initiate the action or did the other party initiate the action to extinguish the easement?
The other party.
Okay.
Plus, I want to keep both going forward if that's possible.
Okay.
But is it okay if we're okay with either option, can we approve both of them and just say it doesn't really matter to us which one goes forward? Both are approved?
That would be our preference if that's possible.
I don't know how anybody else feels, but I don't see a huge difference for either one of them, but like Charlie said, I'm not a lawyer.
The only issue that I foresee, the only problem I foresee is that if you do that, they take option one and the easement is extinguished somehow. That would leave the building without a second means of egress. But they would have be pre-approved to build the second option too. The problem would be is that they would have, I'm not sure if they could, well, they'd be taking a risk. Then I think that they're well aware they'd be taking a risk. That's a substantial outlay of money to rebuild after they've already done one of these site plans.
That's correct. We are going to move forward with what we need to go forward with. But I would very much appreciate if the planning commission could be it in your infinite wisdom to take both of them, and whatever we decide. Obviously, if we don't have a second egress, we don't have a legally functioning building, and I'll be condemned. And then it's really not the planning commission's problem at that point. Then I got code problems and fire department problems and so on. So if it would be possible to move forward with both of these, I would be most appreciative.
I believe you can, as long as they're aware of what the dangers are for them, what they're asking for.
The permit won't allow them to go one way without two exits, so.
Yeah, I'm well aware.
Okay. All right, well, let's do this. Let's open the public hearing and see if there's anybody who would like to talk about the project, speak about the project. And then we'll circle back and talk about the approval right at the end there. All right, so this is the public hearing for the applicant Charles Ackerman, and the project address is 209 to 211 State Street. This is a site plan review and special use permit for a mixed use building with ground floor commercial space, 11 dwelling units and 10 studio/galleries in the C2 downtown business district. If anyone would like to speak about the project, you can call in to 607-772-7028, or you can raise your hand on the Zoom.
I just want to note that we did get 239 comments from the county, and they found no significant countywide impact.
Take it there's no calls, Tito?
No calls, no hands raised.
Should probably give it about 30 seconds and then move on.
All right, well, seeing nobody calling in and no hands raised, we'll close the public hearing. All right, anybody have any last questions, comments, concerns about what they would like to do here at 209, 211 State Street? All right, seeing no questions or comments, I'll make a motion that the applicant has met the requirements for site plan review and special use permit. And I'll make that motion based on either of the options that have been presented would meet the requirements for site plan review and special use permit. And the condition is just that once the applicant decides which direction they're going to head, they formalize that with the planning department. All right, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, seconded by Mario. All in favor? Mario?
Aye.
Paul?
Yes.
Joe?
Joe was traveling. He switched to the phone. Did you see that?
Yes, that's right. All right, we might not get an answer from Joe. Chris?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Manny?
Yes.
All right, and I'm also a yes. We'll say 6 in favor, 0 opposed.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank
All
you.
right. Good luck.
Tito, can you make sure that the decision specifically references the fact that there was 2 options and that both were approved?
Yes, we will do that.
And very clearly, so that in the future, if there's ever any issue, that when someone's reading these plans, they're not confused about what's being shown in the site plan. They know there's 2 options.
Yes, yeah, with the applicant's permission, we'll label them right on the drawings, option A and option B, and then that way we can reference the
That's
2
good.
in the decision.
I just know that there's been so many times in the last 15 years where I've looked and like, what were they doing back then? And just, I wish people were more clear. So I want to make sure it's clear in our decisions that if sure come up in the future, they're not confused.
It's very good thinking, Brian, and I appreciate it, Tito.
No problem.
Thank you all very much. I really appreciate it too.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Have a good day or evening.
All right, so that concludes public hearings and final deliberations. And now we're on to other business. And we've got 45 Carroll Street, Binghamton YWCA development listed under there. I'm not sure exactly what that is, so.
This is Carl Guy. I represent Files Construction, and on the screen also is Rich Vito. And he is the architect for the project. And really, our goal was to really understand what is permissible given the existing conditions and what would be acceptable, because we'd like to get a final site plan into you, but we wanted to talk to the planning board first.
Okay.
So that's really what we're doing here, is just trying to see if what conditions are acceptable to keep and go from there. So Rich, do you want to go ahead and lead right into your question?
Okay, so we need an introduction of the project, right? Binghamton Y is proposing to, well, they've purchased a group of sites at the corner of Lyle and Carroll Street, and we have one of which is the old the Urban League building, and 2 of the properties, I believe, are city owned and are going to be hopefully with planning commission approval deeded over to the Y. And the proposed project is to rebuild and renovate the Urban League building to provide a future home for their Young Wonders Child Care Center, expansion of Young Wonders, which currently is housed in the ground floor at the Y, and to provide a residential building for 60 units. And I believe it's Carl, it's senior, and is it just senior, or are there other?
It's primarily for women with children, and it'll obviously house, it's not going to discriminate against senior housing.
Okay, okay. So the what is, Carl, is the survey the only thing that we showed them?
Well, I showed them the floor plans. I showed them the draft site plan, and and obviously the survey with some outlines on it. So,
okay. So we have we're in an R3 residential zone. Both of the uses, which would be the multiple unit dwelling and an educational institution, require the planning commission review and a special permit.
Can I just interject here for a second, Rich? The one building that we're acquiring, I forget the address, is an existing multi-unit building, and we're going to demolish that and then build a larger structure on the 3 parcels on Lyle Street.
Right. So the proposed design that we have right now meets all of the zoning requirements. It's under the 45 feet in height. It's a 4-story structure with 20 units per floor. And it has offices and tenant spaces at the ground floor. The square footages meet all of the requirements. We have front setbacks, rear setbacks. There are 2 items that would require waivers. That is that the current design builds to the property lines, so it does not provide side yards, which the buildings currently on the site right now do not provide side yards. So I guess we'd be kind of saying that we're not doing something dramatically different than what's there now. And as well, parking waiver, because the occupancy of the residential building would be housing people who would not have cars.
It's very similar to the Y's existing operation.
Right. We are providing 22 parking spaces, but that is predominantly for staff. I think there would be somewhat of a share between the two, between the residential and the staff at the of the child care center. So I believe those are the only items that we would be asking the planning commission for.
There's one piece of the building we're tearing down that we're going to leave in place because it abuts the existing structure that's remaining. So we are going to leave that one extension off the existing multifamily building, and not, so we didn't have to get close to the existing structure. We'll just reuse that piece of it. You look at the floor plan or the site, the survey with the site plan and superimposed on it, you'll see the existing building does a portion of it does come up and touch the building on the corner. We are going to leave that there and build beyond it.
Carl, just so you know, this is Brian Seekers, Co-President Council. Tito is showing people participating in the Zoom call what I believe looks to be like your survey, but it has the red outlines. I'm assuming that red outline is the footprint of the proposed new building.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And it has the elevations on it, and it has some of the existing features or existing buildings there.
Right. There's 2 empty lots that the city has voted to transfer to us to the project, and the existing building that abuts the one on the corner. The one on the corner we're not acquiring, but we're going to take down that 114 unit building, but we're going to leave that little 10-foot portion of that existing building. We're going to leave that there, so as we don't want to interrupt the building on the corner.
Yep, understand.
And just so the applicant knows, the questions about the setbacks, where you said you were building up to the property line, though, that would have to be resolved by the zoning board. So if you want to have a 0-foot setback, the zoning board, you would have to go to the zoning board to get that setback variance. The planning commission cannot grant that.
Okay. Does the zoning board do the parking variance as well?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Does the zoning board do the parking variance as well?
The planning commission can reduce the parking requirement by up to 50%. If you needed more than that, then you could ask the zoning board.
Okay. I think it will be greater than 50%. So we'd have to address it with the zoning board as well.
Yeah.
And that has to occur before we come back to the planning commission, right?
Well, you would submit a formal, we don't have a formal application or site plan yet. So you would submit that. And then there would be a 2-meeting process for the planning commission. They would have a first initial meeting to review the plans, determine the type of action, and then they would schedule a public hearing for the month after that. The zoning board of appeals can meet at any point, because the zoning board of appeals is just one meeting, so they can meet at any point before the final planning commission meeting.
Right, so we can do
pursue
it
both tracks at the same
concurrently.
time.
Yeah,
Yes.
concurrently.
Okay.
Yes.
Good.
We're running the same operation that the Y is running on Hawley Street, just to let everybody know. It's just an extension.
Nick, this is Chris. Can I ask, am I allowed to ask the applicants question even though they're not really here for a seeker or a public hearing?
Yeah, ask away.
Okay. I'm not sure who I should be directing. I see both people listed as Carl, so I'm not sure who I'm really directing the question to. So I'll address it to both Carl guys. One the photo and one that's just the name. So for those of us who are not familiar with the current YWCA housing situation, can you please educate us as to what's going on at the current location, how many units, who's eligible to live there, what program is going on? Let's pretend I don't know anything about the WISE programming.
Well, to the best of Rich, do you want to try and take a stab at the WISE programming?
I wish Carroll were here to be able to explain.
Yeah, now I do.
So
Rich,
why?
This is Teresa. I'm on the Zoom meeting.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, so
Okay, great.
hi. Yeah.
Take it away.
Okay, so my name's Teresa Bouvier, for those that don't know. I'm the Chief Operations Officer, and I've been at the Y 17 years. So the type of housing we do there is extremely low income. So the new project won't be extremely low. It's just affordable housing. But what we're getting at with the parking is we were actually doing some of our parking questions over the last week or so. Over the course of the years I've been there, there's never been more than 2 tenants out of the 48 long-term housing tenants that have had a vehicle. So the parking has never been an issue. And the other piece that I just kind of wanted to bring up tonight is we opened our Eshai unit in Endicott, 23 Jackson Ave. And it's for families. And they have because it was a former school, there's probably over 100 parking spots. And even though there's 70 affordable households living there, 15 are for the Y, there's no more than 6 cars there at any given time. It's just, so it was kind of that, the population we will be serving at Lyle and Carroll is affordable housing. And I wanted to kind of go back to, there will be 30 units designated for frail elderly. It's another Eshai project, and the other 30 will be mixed between low income families, singles. So that's kind of the population we're serving at the YWCA.
Teresa, can I ask a follow-up question, please?
Yes.
Now, multiple times you referenced something called Eshai. For someone who's not familiar with, can you explain what that acronym is? Because I'm not familiar with ESHI.
Yeah, so ESHI is from New York State Office of Temporary Disability Assistance. ESHI stands for Empire State Supportive Housing Initiative. They give the Supportive Housing Agency $25,000 a year to provide support services to each household within that. So it pays the biggest portion of the ESHI funds every year goes to rental assistance and paying the staff. So there are offices on site that work with the ESHI families. That's what they're, so in that case, the population be frail, elderly. The whole premise behind the ESHI funding is to stop the cycle of homelessness. So they will always have their rent paid in full up to the fair market rent value. The case managers work to make sure they have income benefits coming in, that they're getting their medical needs, they're getting connected to like referral services, maybe for substance use or mental health. It's a really, really great initiative. I think they're in round 8 this year. So that is part of the funding that will be used to support 30 of the tenants in this new project.
Okay, thank you. Just one, I guess, general comment for the applicant and the applicant's staffs and planners and architects and engineers, whoever else the 40 people are who are online for this project. You mentioned this, I think the number I heard was 22 parking spots. It might be useful in your eventual site plan and documentation to make sure we're comfortable that the 22 parking spots covers all any and all staffing needs. You know, if we find out that there's 40 staffers but only 22 parking spots, that might cause us to ask some challenging questions.
Excellent point. Yeah.
Thank you.
Follow-up question. This is probably for Brian. I think we've talked about this in the past. So is it possible to approve a project contingent on who the owner is going to be? Because, so let's say, you know, YWCA is inhabiting this building for 20 years. Something happens and they need to sell the building. And now we're selling an apartment complex, which what could be marketed as an apartment complex with no parking tied to it, because, you know, when we reviewed it, we looked at it.
I think the answer I've always given you is that really no, but the solution to that issue is to consider it with that repurposing in mind. What would you, if this wasn't the YWCA and someone was just building this there, what would you want to see there and how would you mitigate its impact on the neighborhood? And that's sort of how you address it. That's what you're doing when you do the SEQR analysis. It's always hard to review a site plan based on when an applicant is asking you, and these folks are not asking you to do that. So I don't, but it's hard when they come and say, well, we're going to take this step. We're going to hire these people to take care of the garbage. That's always hard because, you know, the next owner may not hire those people to take care of the garbage. And so that's a hard thing to do in a site plan. You'd much rather address it in hardscaping and hard design so that those things are naturally taken care of on the site. But it's also, there's some discretion given to you to weigh in what is the public benefit of what they're proposing versus the impact on the neighborhood. So that's not a hard and fast rule. There's room for discretion to be exercised.
Okay, just curious.
Nick, can I ask one more general question for the applicants?
Absolutely.
So if I understand this correctly, the 60 units that intended to be put into this new construction at the corner of Lyle and Carroll are going to be replacing other units elsewhere that are owned currently by the Y. Like I know there's a spot on, I don't know what it's, I think it's Hawley and something, Hawley and Exchange Street. I think that's the YWCA building I'm familiar with.
Teresa?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So no, we're going to continue to keep the 48 units. And for a little more information as well, those units at 80 Holly Street run at 100% vacancy year round. We have about a 2-week turnaround. Yeah, it's more housing, affordable housing is such a huge need.
Okay. So these new spots are going to be supplementing, not replacing what's on Holly Street.
And just to clarify, you don't mean that they were vacant 100% of the time. You're meaning they're occupied 100% of the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is such a demand that they can fill that building plus this what they're proposing to build.
I will say absolutely yes. Yes.
I'm going to pop in here. I was a member of the CDAC for many years, and affordable housing and the lack thereof is a constant struggle. This would be a great project to help us with that and offset some of the profitable things that we do in the city. I'm all for it.
Thank you for that, Kelly.
I think the reason, though, they wanted to meet with us and have us for discussion is, are there any issues that we see or that you see looking at this right now that before they even submit their final site plan that could be addressed? I'm assuming that this is going to be more than an acre. So of course, there's going to be SWIP, and I see they already have the contours on here. Or there's going to be SWIP issues. And water retention. Do you have any ideas how you're going to do water retention?
Rich, do you want to answer that?
I mean, usually we do detention tanks on site, and you know, try to do everything that we can without dumping stuff into the sewer.
Roof.
Yep.
Did you just say green roof, Nick?
Yes.
Well, that retains somewhat, but you know, it's not
Doesn't
gonna do
retain at
everything.
all.
No, it doesn't. Unfortunately.
Hey, you'd be pretty close with the size of this building.
Yeah.
But, all right, so you got some stormwater stuff. Trash is always a big concern. Any ideas?
Yeah,
about trash?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, there's still plenty of things to finalize before we come to you guys. I think that we wanted to make sure that the use special permits were okay. I wasn't aware that we had to do, that we had to get zoning to approve the side yard, so that's good. That's good to know. And the parking.
And we can do that concurrent with your site plan. So I think we can go ahead and put a site plan together, Rich.
Yep.
And get it in for site plan approval and same time apply to the zoning.
Yep.
Yes. The three main issues that I'm just counsel to the board, so I'm not actually a member of the board. The three big issues that I see come up on the planning site plans in downtown are parking, garbage. I just forgot my third one. Parking, garbage, and
stormwater, maybe.
Stormwater. That was the one I raised at first. Yes.
Yeah.
How are you going to address those? And that's just raises. It comes up because of the size of the development.
Yep.
The state's going to make you look at that. The other thing that I can see is, given its proximity to the corner, where your ingresses and egress is, the parking like behind the building at the rear property line. Is that what I'm seeing? That space behind the Urban League and running behind the back of the building?
The space, the parking in the plan actually is underneath the residential building, and there's an ingress and egress on Lyle. That's
Okay.
about, it's further down, it's further away from the corner.
Okay.
So you come in, you go under, there's an ingress that comes in, and then you leave about 30 feet distant from it.
The only other thing that I can see that comes up occasionally is, if you can work into your plan somehow having like tree boxes along the sidewalk or something along those lines to create greenscaping, that
Yeah.
is something that the board often appreciates as well.
Right. Well, we do have a 5-foot setback, and I think we were planning on doing planting because, you do have offices and stuff running along there. So we would plant along all
And
of
it
those,
will be,
all sides.
if it's approved, it'll be a great addition because you're right across the street, you have the back of the incubator that was just brand new, and it could tie in very nicely together.
And you got the
Right.
park right across the street.
Yep.
Right. For the childcare, it's like a perfect location.
All right, excellent. Anybody else have any comments or preliminary comments you want to share?
Well, we appreciate your time if there's no comments.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Yep, thank you.
No problem. All right. Anybody have any other business they want to talk about tonight?
Nick, can I ask the monthly question? Hey,
Yeah.
when will we be back in person in City Hall?
Through June 15th, meetings will be remote, so
Bummer.
maybe July.
I'm going to start referring your questions to the governor because I've given up trying to figure out when they're going to lift it. They just passed a new law saying that we have to adopt it. But at the very end, it says, as long as there's a state of emergency in effect, these old rules, meaning the rules we're operating under right now, still apply. So they're clearly hinting that they're planning on lifting that. But at the same time, every time we get closer to the deadline, like a day or two before, they push it out another 2 months or 3 months. So it's complicated.
All right, well, at least one more month via Zoom.
At least one.
All right. All right.
I kind of miss being in person and actually having the public actually show up and comment on things.
Well, I guess that's it for tonight then. Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
All
I'll
right,
second.
Motion by Kelly, second by Chris. Everybody in favor, say aye.
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 All right, thank you, everyone. We'll see you in June.
See you next month.
See you in a month. See ya.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.